The qualities that I personally believe that I hold regarding being a school counselor mostly come from an understanding of what students, especially students from low income neighborhoods, need in order to thrive in a school environment. I personally believe that any and every student is capable of success, whether that means educationally, professionally, or just personally. In order to have students believe that about themselves, though, they require somebody that they can relate to. I would want all my students to know that they have a school counselor that they can trust, and I hope to make those connections necessary to create that trust. The standards that best guide my thinking are those of understanding of students' social, emotional, and socioeconomic backgrounds. I do personally come from a low-income neighborhood myself, and I feel that I lived a lifetime of understanding what students from similar backgrounds require. I want the best for my students, and I want them to come to me with the knowledge that their school counselor does want what is best for them. I have all too often had school counselors myself that seem to be there out of selfish or personal reasons. I do not want to be this kind of school counselor for my students. I live by a personal creed to accept and appreciate all who are different than myself. Whether a student is from a different culture, whether they choose to identify with their birth assigned sex, or if they have different beliefs than I do, does not matter. I want the students to be the best students they can be, not the best students that I or anybody else wants them to be. To do that requires a communication with not just the students, but their families as well. I want the families engaged in conversations about their child, because the work they may do with me would be negated if they are not continuing that work in their personal and family lives. Parents need to be in the conversation. I definitely need to work on my demeanor overall before I begin working as a first-year school counselor. This is because I'm still relatively young and can still relate to students from a student perspective. Although this is by no means a bad quality to possess, it is important to create the separation between a friend and somebody who does want the best for them, a staff. I want them to know that I can relate to them, but I do not want to come off as someone who cannot be seen or taken seriously. I generally also need to know how to implement an effective counseling program because as of right now, I have little to no knowledge on how to do this. This is something that I hope to work on as I progress in the program and as I begin the practicum and working with an actual counselor and students. I want to constantly be evolving as a school counselor. This means that I do not want to hear feedback and completely dismiss it. Everything I hear back from a student, teacher, admin, or parent is just an opportunity to grow as a counselor and as a person. If I receive enough of a feedback that seems to be widespread, I would want to implement that in a way where everyone involved knows that their feedback is taken into account. All I want is the best for my students.